Welcome to the DeFi Standard, and this is Mickey B. Fresh. And today we're going to do a dive into the vote power tokens and really what is behind this concept of being able to delegate your votes for governance and for the FTSO. So first off, let's just start with what is delegating to the FTSO. So how are you able to do that? You're actually not staking your tokens, and I know FLR has called it staking, but it's actually you're delegating a vote power that's attached to your token. And this is because it's wrapped FLR or wrapped SGB. And they have these contracts that are attached to them because they turn into ERC20 standard tokens. Now they have nothing to do with the Ethereum mainnet or network. They exist on Songbird Network or on the FLR network, but they give them superpowers. And this really comes down to the utility of the Spark token. And Songbird, they have superpowers attached to them because you're able to simultaneously delegate to the FTSOs, you're delegating vote power to them, which then they're using to vote for the prices that they input into the FTSO to earn rewards, and then you get some of that back. This replaces the mining in FLR, and since we don't need the token to secure the network, it's very important that we have this extra capabilities. So you're able to earn then those rewards, but here's where it gets even to the next level. You're able to allocate those rewards to, say, for example, crowdfund a project, or to top up a collateral position. So these are some things that are part of the contracts, and it also comes at no risk. So this is very important to understand too. When you delegate, there's literally no risk to your token. Zero, because it's a detachable, basically API that is separate from your token. So even if there was ever a bug in that vote, it has nothing to do with your token. It's separate. And this is a powerful thing. There's no other tokens that I'm aware of that are able to do this. And they also come with a governance vote attached to them. So you're going to be able to have governance, delegation to the FTSO, and then simultaneously you'll be able to use your token. And I know in some projects, like to start on this date, at least today is July 1st, you're not able to simultaneously delegate and also use in the actual dApp itself. But that's going to be a feature that all dApps are going to have to offer, or else nobody's going to use them. Because the whole idea is that you're simultaneously able to delegate and use the value of that token. That is what the design is in these contracts. And even better, these technically, the Spark token and Songbird will be clonable. So dApps will be able to adopt the same contracts that are in there in the Songbird token and the Spark token. So we'll see this in other tokens going forward. So they'll be registered in the actual libraries of the FLR network and the Songbird network. So how does the F-Asset contracts work? So those work in a similar fashion. We have a FTSO vote that all F-Assets come with, because that's also an ERC20 token or standard. Once again, nothing to do with the Ethereum mainnet, but it uses the same Ethereum standard. Different contracts though. And there, you delegate to the FTSOs. You don't earn direct rewards for delegating your FTSO vote, but if it's possible for FTSOs to reward you back based on how much of your vote power contributed to the rewards. We have to see how that's going to play out, because there's a new FTSO V2 coming out where they're upgrading to allow for multiple hundreds, if not thousands, of FTSOs in the future, and with that might come some other enhancements. So we'll hold off and see how you could earn there and what stipulations might occur with the upcoming governance proposals. And then the other vote you get is going to be how they reward you, how the network rewards you in F-Asset rewards. Because when you mint your F-Assets onto the FLR network, you earn rewards. And they come on a daily basis to you in Spark tokens. So you'll be able to earn those on a daily basis, and that's how we'll gather the positions. So we'll know your percentage based on how much vote power you have in your F-asset. So if you have 0.1% of all the vote power, it'll know how much to allocate to you daily. And this is all automated through contracts. There's nobody like sitting there waiting to send you these tokens. It's all done by contracts. And there's multiple layers of contracts here to enhance the security. So security is built in by design. So I'm not going into the technicals of any of this. I'm not running through it because, one, it's still being designed, but it's easy for me to see through GitLab and GitHub of how the contracts work. And this is just something important to understand how they're doing all this. So these come with superpowers. So let's just take an example here for argument's sake. Now, if you were, let's just use Algorand. Nothing against Algorand, but say in Algorand, they reward you if you are going to stake in a governance incentive program they have. You have to stake your token, it gets locked up for 3 months, and all you have to do is agree to vote on governance proposals that they put up, and you get a small percentage. But your token is completely useless now. It's staked, you can't use it. Now let's compare that to Spark. Spark can be used as collateral to mint an F-asset. And now that will mint the F-asset as a self-minter. You'll also simultaneously be able to delegate to the FTSO provider to earn rewards. Now you can allocate those rewards to be directed to crowdfund a project that's new, say a DApp or whatever it is, even if it's a real world thing. You could allocate it to go directly to a different contract, and you could revoke it whenever you like. So now you're earning from the FTSO, allocating those rewards somewhere. Your collateral is being used to mint an F-asset. That F-asset earns daily Spark rewards too, and on top of all of this, you simultaneously are able to vote in any type of governance proposal. So do you see how much utility comes from just one token compared to some other proof of stake out there? And there's nothing against Algorand. Algorand's a great network. It's just that you see how Spark's able to avoid some of the flaws of proof of stake. With proof of stake, you have to have the token locked up. Even if you have custody of it, you can't use it. With Flare, you don't lose that ability of utility. And this is utility at its finest. And the utility comes because it's a network. We all think of crypto assets and digital assets, but they're not. They're networks. They're money infrastructures that are built on protocols, and those protocols have certain designs behind them. For example, the Flare has economic value behind it. So some of you saw, I'm going to put a tweet out, the BIS clip of the guy in the middle who talks about economic value and revenue stream backing a token. Well, Spark is the epitome of what he's saying, is because there is economic value backing the Spark token and Songbird, is because you could earn the underlying revenue in XRP, in Bitcoin, by having those assets as collateral. So that's the economic revenue stream you could earn outside currencies. But you also earn inner economy, would be the inside currency. So what is that? Spark. So this is the shuffling around of value from those who don't participate or who are too lazy to participate or don't understand how to participate to those who do participate. And then that gives you the right to be able to use those tokens as collateral. So I forgot in the last part to add in that you also can earn the underlying XRP, Bitcoin, Algo, whatever it is that you're securing in the F-asset system with your Spark. More details to come on the F-assets, so that's why I haven't done a video on the F-assets specifically, because we're waiting for more details to come any day now. And the testing should begin on Songbird. As of now, it is 7/1/2022. This video is being recorded. We have an 8-week observational period that will take place on the Flare network before the actual mainnet launch. So why is this taking place? This is not a delay, and everyone has to understand This is not an airdrop just. This is a network launch, a layer 1 EVM that has 2 advanced, enhanced, novel Oracle and attestation systems. You have a probabilistic Oracle system in the FTSO. And then you have basically an attestation system that's the eye in the sky that can observe every other blockchain and pull any data it needs from there in any open system. Those are 2 novel technologies. And yes, they've been tested on Songbird. So that's great. So those will spin up right at Genesis launch. But the key here is the validation power and having a decentralized consensus by the time you receive your tokens. So instead of just doing the token airdrop right when the Genesis happens, it'll be all centralized then if that happens. So what is going on is at Genesis, the FLR team and the foundation will spin up all the validators. Their engineers will launch the network, which we want. So in that way, yes, it'll be centralized to launch the network, but you have to be, because they're the ones who spent 5 years designing this. So they want that to all go right. So in the meantime, the FTSOs, who are going to be validators, will slowly transition the validation power from the foundation and the FLR team to the FTSO validators. And this will happen by the reward rate and the vote power that takes place every epoch for those 8+ weeks. Now, they won't earn actual rewards because that wouldn't be fair to everybody else, but it's a way of transferring the validation power without getting too technical. That's replacing the proof of stake of the Avalanche Snow++, which would put actual stake of tokens up to determine who the validators, basically who's going to get likely chosen to be the leader. And there's also randomness put in there as well from the FTSOs. So reward rate and reward vote power are 2 things that go into this algorithm that's like a formula that flattens it out and evens out the FTSOs. So we have this decentralized consensus when you get your tokens. So at least 66% of the validation power has to be transitioned over to the independent FTSOs by the time the mainnet launches. So I think that's going to happen in around 8 weeks, but that is why, one of the main reasons why we're having this observation period. And wouldn't you want to have a decentralized consensus before you actually get the tokens? Because the tokens only exist because of the network. And then there's 2 other things that are huge that not many other networks that I'm aware of have been able to do this. So, well, one is the decentralized consensus. How many networks you know have launched with a decentralized consensus? It's unheard of. It's unheard of. Bitcoin didn't, Ethereum didn't, XRP didn't. None of them really, even new blockchains didn't. Then we have the token distribution, right? The big airdrop everyone's excited about. But that's a distribution of the token for the network to an existing community that already exists. The XRP army, XRP community, we are one of the biggest, largest communities there is. So distributing the token far and wide without a private or public token sale is very important. So there's no tokens that have been sold public or privately that we're aware of. So that's also very powerful going forward. And then the third thing, and this will happen shortly after the mainnet launch, is the DAO-like governance. So like a DAO, literally FLR is going to run like a DAO. The governance is embedded into the code base. So there'll be a transfer of governance during the first proposal, and we'll get more details on this. But just know, this is going to be a decentralized governance built into the network. So that's important because community is going to govern everything once that first proposal is put up. So there's going to be no tweeting on Twitter, oh, can you add this F-Asset? Can you add this? Nope. It's all going to be built in. It'll be transparent. It'll be full disclosure. You'll know the circulating supply at every second. You'll know the supply at every second. You'll know who owns the supply at every second on the top. So a lot of those things that are required from like regulation, everything. It's built in to the system, and it's going to be decentralized. And then we'll have to vote for, because this is why you have vote power. It's very important. It's a key part of the FLR design, is that the community is involved in the voting. And there'll probably be added incentives and other types of things that will encourage people to vote. So those are things to look for. So we'll have decentralized consensus, far and wide distribution to tens of thousands of accounts in a staggered distribution over 36 months. So only the first 15% of your tokens are coming in the first month. The rest are going to come over a distribution period. There will be a governance proposal that will update that distribution, likely to a treasury contract. And with that will come other possibilities. But we got to wait till we get the governance proposal. I can't speak on that because I don't know. We'll see when that comes out and expect that to be very interesting, to say the least. And then there is the consensus. And that's the other piece here. It's just having a decentralized consensus out the gate is something that takes proof of stake networks. How do they get it? They got to distribute out tokens to big VCs to run infrastructure, and it usually comes out centralized anyway. With the FTSOs, we're going to go from hundreds of FTSOs to thousands. So it's only going to become more decentralized in the future. But that's what this transition of power is for. And then our Spark tokens will get the upgraded contracts likely as part of those governance proposals. But be aware that these governance proposals are going to have big impacts on the future of the network. And they're going to release details of them probably before either Genesis or definitely before the mainnet, that you'll be able to be aware of and know what's coming. So definitely pay attention to FLR Network's Twitter, to videos I put out. And as we get more information, I'll have a lot more videos. It's just waiting for more info when it comes to the actual design of some of these governance proposals, because they're going to have a big impact. Let's just say that for the whole thing. And Songbird is going to be a part of that too. So keep in mind, Songbird, the SGB token, there's going to be a governance proposal on Songbird to be part of FLR. And FLR is going to have to approve that too. So these are two networks that are going to be working as one. There'll be the lower house of governance and the upper house. And everyone says, oh, Bitcoin, Ethereum are decentralized. But you know one thing they don't have? There's no governance. Governance is huge, 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 huge deal. And you can't change the network on Ethereum. They got to keep hard forking just to make changes. There's a whole governance structure in the white paper laid out with FLR. Now that is 2 years old. So there could be some changes from there. I expect us to get some kind of tokenomics paper on some of the details of the reward services. Because remember, the foundation is putting up roughly around 20 billion tokens that are going to be part of different reward services that will be distributed out. Now the inflation is going to start at 10%, but that 10% is going to be of the 15 billion. So that's about what we have on Songbird right now. The governance proposals might change that, but even then, the inflation rate can't change for 1 year, but it might change what it's based on. So instead of being based on just the 15 billion initial supply, it might be based on something else. I don't know yet. We'll find out. So those are some things to look for. But really it comes down to the economy of FLR. Just an inner economy and an outer economy. And let me just explain the outer economy one more time, because I think I kind of ran through that a little fast. The outer economy is the ability to earn XRP when you're self-minting. So say you put up XRP, say you put up Spark to be able to mint FXRP. You should be able to earn underlying XRP, native, or BTC if you minted FBTC. Exactly how that's going to work with the dynamic agent pool, not yet sure. But the agents who operate and lend the collateral, where are they getting this XRP from? It's the people who are paying fees to the network. And there also could be some other dynamics put in place here. But it looks like you'll be able to automatically use your Spark collateral, the FTSO vote, and just put it and have it sent right back into that collateral position for you. And this is a very low risk form of DeFi. I'm putting together a little It's basically a collage of all the different videos from Hugo's AMAs that describe all this. So instead of just putting them in this video, I'm going to just make a video of them. And I think that will help everyone understand a little of how low risk the F-Asset system is. Because it is a DeFi system. It's DeFi. There's no, really denying that. It's a collateral system, but it's not a synthetic asset. F-Assets are not synthetics because the underlying assets are still held on the underlying networks, and it's able to monitor that because of the state connector system. Now, in self-minting, it'll be one-to-one. In the agent system, when the agents lend collateral, they'll have to put up 250% in Spark. So every F-Asset that's minted, just think how much Spark has to get locked up. And that's creating demand. Spark is probably one of the most pristine collaterals that you're going to find because it's yield-bearing. Yield-bearing collateral that's not a derivative. So it's not like staked ETH, where it's a derivative of a staked token. Those are derivatives. Spark is, WFLR is Spark. It's just wrapped with smart contract. It's not a derivative, and it's able to earn a reward and simultaneously be used as collateral. That gives it economic revenue coming in. And that's what the guy at the BIS was talking about. And XRP needs that too. So, to be honest, you can't just have liquidity without utility of the network. And the network needs to have some type of applications and value built on it. And it's not just about the digital asset, Spark. It's about the networks, and it's about all these layer 1 networks. They are not just assets that you trade on exchanges and tokens. They have underlying economic value comes from their actual networks. And I disagree with the people at the BIS. They're 3 steps behind, in my opinion. They're not 3 steps ahead, because they really don't understand how this works. They keep trying to compare it to money and the 3 functions. Well, what do you call a token that can have a revenue stream that can get refactor the yield from the principal and send it off to crowdfund another project? What is that called? That's called superior money, in my opinion, compared to fiat money. So I think they're 3 steps behind, and they're always going to be 3 steps behind. And personally, I think the projects that do survive through these bear markets, they're going to explode. And then we're going to have more projects that be built on top of them. But there will be certain underlying infrastructures that will be key to the next-gen financial system. This is the next-gen financial system, everybody. There's no secret quantum financial system, all right? This is it. It's a big experiment here. DeFi allows for lending, borrowing, but some things don't work. Look at Terra Luna, and you'll see it didn't work. It wasn't designed correctly. See, instead of designing something high risk at the center, FLR has designed something very low risk, and it has all this transparency and all this data. So voting is at the heart of everything that FLR is doing. So let's just do a run through. What are the things that are voting is taking place? We have governance, we have the FTSO voting, and then we have the state connector voting. So the state connector is running its own consensus. They're voting rounds of attesting to the data that pulls off these other blockchains. That's a very powerful system. These are 2 unique components. The FTSO and the state connector are things that other blockchains do not have. You will not find another blockchain that has something like that. The blockchain that could solve the Oracle problem truly. Now, Chainlink, they're not a blockchain. They're never going to be able to solve it in the same way that FLR does. And that's not to say that somebody can't use Chainlink on FLR. Hugo said it's fine. Oracles are going to be oracles. But it's built into the inflationary rewards of the FLR network. So everyone who's participating on the network, and this whole updating of addresses that's coming, you're going to be able to move your distribution. So the remaining 85%, the exchange does not need to approve it. They're going to take approval. You'll be able to move it. I don't know what stipulations are going to come with that or how. We'll see. But you'll be able to move it to a self-custody. What does that do? That removes all these people who are thinking, oh, we're just going to sell right out the gate. Well, if you want to remove the exchange risk of trusting that exchange for 36 months, you're going to now have to move to a self-custody wallet. That in itself gets people more engaged. Now, they said there's going to be additional incentives there, so we'll wait and see what those are going to be. But expect everything to direct towards participating and engaging in the network. There's no secret JP Morgan Bank or Goldman Bank. This is a DAO-like governance. It's a community. So we are a part of that community. There's the retail. There's the FTSOs. They're going to be validators too, who are FTSOs. You're going to have agents. You're going to have bandwidth providers. You're going to have different dApps and applications that build in the network. You're going to have the attesters in the state connector, who are also going to be FTSOs and validators. So there's all these different roles that will be played on the network that's going to be part of the governance community. Yes, it's going to be institutionally hardened where enterprise and institutional applications can get built on with added privacy and other things. But this is at its core, it's us, the community, is going to be there in the beginning. So we have the keys to the kingdom to get this thing going and get it started up. So the 8 weeks that you're waiting is not a delay. Look at it like this. Well, I'm waiting 8 weeks so we have a decentralized consensus. How many other networks can say, oh, we launched and we had a decentralized consensus, we had a fair token distribution with no sale, and we had a DAO-like governance. And when I say DAO-like governance, I'm not even joking. Like, this paper is out there that describe FLR as a DAO. So that's just a real thing. Even though it's a layer 1, so I put it as a layer 1 before being a DAO. So don't mix it up with those other DAOs. It's not like that. It's a layer 1 blockchain. You know, it's more compared along the lines of like an Ethereum or Cardano or Solana. It's a layer 1, but it has DAO-like governance built into it. And it's superior in a lot of ways. It has components that other networks just don't have. And even its library of contracts are going to be available to dApps. So they'll be able to have vote power built into them. And the great thing about this vote power is the history of all your vote power can be checked by any project. So when it comes to airdrops, those people who are participating and using their vote power for different things are going to be more likely to receive different types of dApp airdrops. And unlike the frenzy that happened on the XRP ledger, where it's just like, give out a bunch of tokens or let people know in advance that today is going to be the snapshot and there's going to be the date. That's not going to happen in the future of FLR, because there's going to be other ways to target and narrow down those participants in the network who are actually participating going forward. So on that note, look forward to the governance proposals that are coming out, and we will go over those as we get closer, and then we could strategize on the best way to be able to set yourself up for the FLR Network mainnet launch, which is going to be roughly 8 weeks after Genesis. There's one final audit. Now, they've gone through probably, from I see, like, I don't even know, tens of hundreds audits over the last couple of years, probably so many. But Trail of the Bits did the main audit, and they passed with flying colors. So that's a good sign, and they're probably one of the top tier when it comes to auditing code bases. So there's a lot of different types of audits because there's such a complex technologies that they're using here, and a lot of it is novel technology. So on that note, I'm Mickey B. Fresh, and I'm out.